This is one of the best storytelling games that I have played over the last couple of years. We are talking about As Dusk Falls, which was released earlier this summer and was developed by Interior Night. Xbox Game Studios are the people that published it. I actually got to play it because of the Xbox Game Pass, so that's pretty neat. In case you don't have a PC, however, you can play it on console. With that said, the game follows 3 keys for success that made it a banger. Numero uno is the branching storylines that allow it to have a major aspect of replayability. Numero dos is the compelling storytelling through high-stakes decisions. And I'm gonna give you number 3 at the end of the video, so make sure you stick around. Without any spoilers, the story primarily focuses around 2 families living in Two Rock, Arizona. I know what you're thinking. Where the hell is that? Yo tampoco sé, papa. The premise is pretty simple. They give you their backstories, and then they lead to the eventual clash at a motel in the middle of the desert. Just called the Desert Dream. I love the irony because this situation is a nightmare. With the backstory out of the way, let's talk mechanics. On the technical side, the voice acting is superb. Then on the graphic side, it looks like a moving comic book. But it does offer high-quality animated transitions that make it feel like a growing, breathing world. The best way that I can describe it in just one sentence, it's as if you're going through a replay of your memories. In terms of playing style, it's very similar to what we've seen in the past from the Telltale Batman and Walking Dead games, and then some splashes of Quantic Dream. Granted, this is a full-on narrative, decision-based storytelling experience. So if you're expecting an action extravaganza, this is not the game for you. The focus is rationalizing your decisions and seeing the consequences in real time. Speaking of which is pretty handy, you can play it with up to 8 people. In my opinion, this is the best way to play because you can have other people vote on which option to take, and that'll immediately have your moral compass in a swivel. Whether you decide to do that with a 4-player local or a mix between that and online, it's going to be an amazing experience because everyone is going to have a different perspective on what to do based on how they resonate with the characters. In my opinion, the most enjoyable mechanical aspect of the game, however, was the recap animation at the end of each chapter. There's 6 in total. This is where you get the bird's eye view into every single little decision that you took. And of course, the possible different outcomes that would have happened if you had chosen a different course of action. Not to mention, every single decision has a specific graphic with the percentage of players that took that same course. Honestly, that's pretty badass. There's always that sense of curiosity of, shit, what if I had picked the other thing? What if I had saved this person? And trust me, that's gonna happen to you a lot. The music and the audio editing is sometimes overlooked when talking about narrative games. I think it's worth talking about in this one. It is essential for setting the mood, making it feel like an actual world, and obviously, it is accentuated by the delivery of the actors. The only nitpicky issues that I could find with the game, however, are related to the audio, unfortunately. Since there are so many different courses of action and different consequences for each one, there is a plethora of voice lines that lead to hard cuts between each line, which is natural considering the amount of lines you need to have in order to create a game with branching timelines, but the hard cuts are really noticeable, at least in the beginning of the game. Nevertheless, the pacing of the story and the quality of the dialogue kept me hooked, so after the first hour, I didn't notice it as much. Another unique touch that I truly appreciated was the player profile shown at the end of the chapters, which analyzed every single aspect of your decision-making process, even how fast you made them. It lets you know visually if you like to avoid confrontation, if you have an altruistic mentality, or if you're just a major piece of shit. The mechanics are checked. Let's talk about the themes. Underlying themes of morality, fate, and perseverance are discussed at length in this one. Going further beyond, one of the most ingenious ways in order to discuss that is the fact that every single character in this game has a unique fundamental flaw. And these are rooted in relatable real-world scenarios that we, the audience, can identify with. At least on a theoretical, empathetic level, because people do some whack-ass shit for money. Let me ask you a question, Papa, so you can get a feel of what I'm saying. Is showing courage and resolve during a high-stakes situation worth it if you know that your family members are this close to losing their lives and everything you've worked for your entire life? You have to make that decision in 13 seconds and deal with the consequences. Espectacular. All of this is to say that whether it's an impending divorce, a sketchy past, or the looming socioeconomic conditions of where you live having to reshape the way that you feel about your morality, it covers a wide breadth of scenarios that are going to have you rethinking every single decision. Because if you take the wrong turn, somebody might just be in the shadow realm. Speaking about that, this is a narrative-based game, so let's talk about the characters. 2 major families are in this game, the Walkers and the Holts, and no, I'm not gonna give you any spoilers. They collide almost by a stroke of luck. One of the families is trying to reinvent themselves, while the other is a notorious, kind of a criminal or family organization that makes some really bad decisions. You get their backstory in well-paced action set pieces with interesting imagery that sets up their impending meetup. Every single character has wildly different action prompts that line up perfectly perfectly with their personality, and that keeps the pacing similar to that of a TV drama. None of it felt predictable, which is essential for a story game. I will say, however, the police made some egregiously horrible decisions. The logic just wasn't there in their procedures, in the way that they handled a hostage situation. It didn't have any single piece of logic in my eyes, but hey, to each their own. The third key to success, and thank you so much for staying this long, is the fact that the moral ambiguity leads to a solid payoff. Emotions run high, consequences run deep, and every decision feels just as important as the previous decision screen. Besides the voice acting compromises and the illogical police procedures making you question your humanity, this game is an instant classic when it comes to storytelling, and it leaves itself open for a sequel, which is interesting in terms of replayability long term. Let's get to the review. As Dusk Falls delivered, even when I had mild expectations, considering that I love the Telltale story format of single-player story games. Adding the multiplayer element made this a worthwhile experience because you get to discuss these hard-hitting themes with your friends, which you don't usually get in similar storytelling scenarios in video games. I'm going to give this one a solid 9 out of 10. If you finish the game or you're thinking about trying it, let me know in the comments down below. That's the end of the video, familia. See ya.